This is the whole greatness about being part of fake news.
Oh yeah,
I can
fake
make
news.
fake news in my pajama pants.
uh,
Well, you want to start then? I guess.
yeah.
Do you want to
Um,
say anything about fake news?
fake news.
I didn't put anything in the drive about fake news.
Fake news. There's been a lot happening with fake news. I actually I wrote a research paper for one of my college courses, and it's about it deals with fake news a little bit. It's the public and the private sector are kind of targeting media outlets right now, especially independent outlets that aren't your typical MSNBC or CNN, blah blah blah. The establishment media. So
Right.
I mean, you saw it right after the election. Um, as soon as Trump won, everyone kind of didn't understand. They couldn't believe that Trump had won because they had spent the past 18 months propagandizing people with fake news, basically. Or, you
Yeah.
know,
Well, way more than 18 months, but
for that season
right.
of America,
Yeah.
I think of America in seasons now because it's
Oh,
it's kind of it's
how
a
long
TV
are the
show.
seasons?
I don't know, I mean a year. You have New Year's Eve, that's like the grand finale, and then
Yeah, I guess.
the new season.
That's interesting. So, I don't know. I mean, the funny thing to me about fake news is that they're pushing all this new stuff. This is called a segue, by the way. They're pushing all this new stuff with the NDAA now that's going through in the propaganda. It's
Right.
like they're just outright coming out and saying we're making fake news, and then they're calling everybody else fake.
Mm-hmm. And oh my gosh, I was I nearly gave myself a panic attack when I found out about it. When you sent me that link, I was like, I can't believe this is a thing, because they did it back in 2012. They passed a piece of legislation that repealed the the Smith-Mundt Act, I believe is what it's called, that
Right.
basically
That
bars the
was the
federal government from propagandizing the people.
and that was what the one, if I'm not mistaken, that allowed the already existing propaganda agencies that were just using, they were making stuff for overseas.
Right.
That one made it legal for them to just give it to CNN or whatever and say, here's some news.
Yeah. It's another news wire source, basically. It's like the AP. That's my concern, is that now if the American government sets up something like RT, Russia Today, or whatever North Korea's news network is, um, my fear is that all the other news networks, they'll just start parroting whatever the official story is or the official truth is for what's going on. And I think,
Oh, my friend, they are doing that already. But yeah, I agree. It's gonna get bad. The interesting thing is the attacks on the outside of the controlled media. They're going after hardcore anybody who's not inside their little control ring.
yep, yep. It's.
You.
um, I
So do
mean,
you
I
think we
I
ought to?
haven't been lampooned yet. I haven't been. I don't think I'm big enough to be a target quite yet. But um,
Well, if this is gonna be a new show, you think we ought to read some of this stuff or cover it?
yeah, sure.
You want to be the reader, or what do you think? How
For
should we handle that? This
huh,
the bill.
the bill itself. Okay, let's see here. Let's see.
It is S.2692 of the 114th Congress. Right? I'm looking at it.
Okay, yeah, I got that link. Let's see
Well, I
here.
mean, we could read another news article about the bill. I just thought this would be more
The
me
prime
sake.
primary source is pretty good. I don't
Right.
know. And the other thing too is when I googled it, I couldn't find hardly any, what you think of as a credible source, or what
Right.
people perceive to be a credible source. They weren't really talking about it.
Yeah, yeah, I didn't see this on Countable either. So you want to read some of this, or
Okay,
at least some of it?
sure. So the main piece of legislation here that was included in the NDAA, which they have, repassed periodically, is the Countering Information Warfare Act of 2016. And this is a bill that expresses the sense of Congress that foreign governments, including governments of the Russia Federation and China, use disinformation and other propaganda tools to undermine the national security objectives of the U.S. The U.S. government should develop a comprehensive strategy to counter foreign disinformation and propaganda and assert leadership in developing a fact-based strategic narrative. That right there should throw up some red flags.
Right. It did for me.
If especially the WikiLeaks thing. I mean, it's the easiest example to point to. If WikiLeaks, if Russia did in fact leak those Hillary Clinton and Podesta emails, that's a good thing. The Russian government did the media's job for us, and I don't know why you would need to counter that with true information. But okay, here's a third piece. So the important element of this strategy should be to promote an independent press in countries that are vulnerable to foreign disinformation. So I don't know what that could entail. Maybe implanting some state government journalists. What's unclear to me is this going to be Voice of America, or is this going to be something new? Are you familiar with Voice of America?
Yeah, that's the one I was thinking of earlier that I couldn't think of when we were talking about NDAA 2012, right?
Yeah.
I think that might be, but it looks like to me, and I read through this, but I didn't memorize it, but it looks like to me they're developing a special task force type of thing, and they've appropriated, I want to say $20 million for it. And then it details in here how they can. It's pretty interesting. There's a section in here that basically says that they can use any government employee to create fake news with or without compensation. Then there's also, it details in here how they can use employees to create independent media, or supposedly independent. Let me see if I can that.
Independent media. Oh.
Any federal government employee may be detailed to the center without reimbursement, and such detail shall be without interruption or loss of civil service status or privilege.
Wow.
Yeah, so that means anybody in the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, National Guard. I mean,
that is not good. It makes you wonder why they would need that.
The government may procure temporary and intermittent services under Section 3109B of Title V United States Codes at rates for individuals which do not exceed the daily equivalent of the annual rate of basic pay prescribed for level 4, blah, blah, blah. This is saying that whenever he wants, he can just hire people and pay them on this government pay scale under this Section 3109B of Title V U.S. Code.
Well, hey, if you're doing your job too well as a journalist, federal government comes to you, they offer to buy you out or give you a higher salary or, fund your operation. Could be pretty tempting for some people,
I think this is where it's going right here. I think this is what news is going to be. It's going to stop being, I don't even know who's the main news guys now. It's not going to be Shepard Smith or Bill O'Reilly or all those guys. Are not going to be going into a studio and giving everybody the news for much longer. I mean, that is dying.
Yeah. Yeah.
All the main news media outlets are going to be, they're going to be hiring people and turning them loose with equipment and just going, here, go, send me an email by the end of the week with your stories.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, ad revenues across the board for local and national broadcast news are dropping. Print is nearly completely dead at this point. The only people who pick up a newspaper really are boomers, Gen Xers are in there too. But I mean, I don't know anyone in my generation who picks up a print newspaper, and that print journalism is historically been, investigative journalism, the important kind of news that you really need in society to keep the government in check and keep corporations in check and just anybody who's in a position of power in check. And there's no money in it anymore. So,
well, all the people with integrity are out. When the government started handing out news, like run this story that we made for you. I mean,
yeah.
how can
And
we? Anyway,
yeah,
I'm not a journalist, but I don't
you have
see
the
how
White
you can.
House, press corps. You go to the White House to have, the president's press secretary. You tell you what's going on. I mean,
Hello.
and that's a huge problem. I mean, I was trying to.
Hey,
I went on Facebook. I mean,
see,
I was ranting and raving about this whole thing.
I
Like,
lost you for about 30 seconds.
really?
Yeah, go back in your train of thought.
What was I even saying?
Okay.
Um, uh, I mean, I
I'm
would,
sorry.
I've been on
That was
Facebook
probably
trying
not
to.
a good co-host thing to do. I'm
Oh, it's all
learning.
right. It's all good. Um, what I was saying though is, I've been on Facebook. I've been trying to share this information with people who are friends with me, and um, it doesn't seem to concern people all too much. I mean, there's some people who get it. And they're like, yeah, this is messed up, but um, I don't know. It's the general reaction just seems to be, oh, whatever.
Well, I don't know. I don't want to get too worked up about what all the reasons I think are why, but yeah, I think it's easy to forget that most people just don't care about national politics ever. That's always the case. Most people don't care. Most people didn't get involved in the Revolutionary War. It was a small percentage of the population that started and fought the war. So, and that's how it always is. I don't want to get too down on like current generations, but there's so much stuff coming at younger people these days. There's more information coming at a person than anybody in history's ever had to deal with, and
Yep, that's
it's. I think it's part of the fog, and that's part of the whole fake news fog and the whole propaganda fog. The whole thing is just making it so that if you really plug yourself into this, it's going to be hard to tell what's real and what's BS.
right. Yeah, that is a huge problem. I mean, you could spend all day reading and researching and trying to stay up to date on what's going on. You'd still, only cover a fraction of it. That's why we are supposed to have, real journalists telling us what's going on, that have the know-how and the intelligence to recognize what's important and tell us what's important. But everything's ratings driven, everything's view driven.
Well, it's got to be ratings driven because they're losing their advertising dollars, so they got to get that back by product placement and subliminal messaging, which they for sure do.
Oh,
But
yeah, and I mean, frick.
let's hear it right now. Fake news.
Did you see Mariah Carey out on Dick Clark's New Year's Rockin' Eve?
I did not see that.
Completely unrelated, but it's pretty funny. She's lip syncing the whole time, and then they play one of her tracks that doesn't have the back vocals, so she just kind of stands around for 3 minutes and walks around the stage and doesn't sing the entire thing. It's
Did she forgot the name
hilarious.
or the words to her own song?
No, I think she just wasn't singing it at all. Like, there's a song before, and you can tell too because the camera's it's zoomed in, and you can tell like the lips aren't matching up, and everyone who's at the front of it is still cheering and going crazy, even though she's not doing anything. Like paid actors, it just looks
Yeah.
fabricated and fake. Everything. I mean, it's hard to stay positive. It really is.
That's a good segue. Let's do some positive section. That's what I got. Put the crypto wars folder in there for.
Okay.
Sorry, I have been fighting a cold. So, hang on real quick. Let's just check before I. Bitcoin right now
Ooh.
has been flirting with $1,000 all day. It's at 993 right
Oh,
now.
wow.
I can see on my
Wow.
phone that it broke 1,000 momentarily, but
That's
I
incredible.
suspect it'll probably take a run up above about 1,020 before it'll hold at 1,000. But so there's that, and I got some articles in there. I don't know if you looked at any of them that talk about Bitcoin, but the one on Forbes I thought was interesting. It says that Bitcoin beats up on stocks. Oh, Bitcoin beats up on stocks, bonds, and gold. And it just talks about basically how Bitcoin was by far the best investment for your money. If you put your money in Bitcoin at the beginning of the year.
Bring in the new year with Guitar Center. Grab your gift cards.
My
Was
bad.
that you or me?
That was me. Those video ads that just pop up out of nowhere. Those are the worst.
So that I think is good news. And then in case anybody, we're gonna have to put show notes in here, but I put a little article in there for why Bitcoin is important. But if you'd like, I can give a brief rundown of this.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, we'll run through this article because it's better than what I can come up on the fly. 7 reasons why Bitcoin is better than banking. And I'll just hit the highlights in freestyle here. It says you don't need permission to use it. Access to banks and credit cards are entirely at the discretion of the banks. There are over 1 billion people in the world who don't have a bank account, especially in small third world countries in places like China and India where lots of people don't have roads. Other people are flat out rejected from opening a bank. So that's one great thing about Bitcoin. It doesn't belong to a government, and you don't need to go to a bank to get access to it. Number 2, there are no spending limits, which that's interesting. I just actually opened a bank account the other day, and I can't spend more than $3,000 in a day.
Really?
I can't. Yeah.
Whoa.
It doesn't say unless. It just says that's my limit. Anyway,
Whoa. No, I didn't know that.
Bitcoin.
That's news
Not all
to me.
banks are the same. It's all going to be relative. But I'm sure if I had $1 million, I wouldn't have a $3,000 spending limit. But I don't have $1 million. But okay, so there are no spending limits in Bitcoin. In Bitcoin, one person can send as much money as they want to another person without an intermediary. Number 3, quick international settlement. You could send $1 million to China for 45 cents, and it would take the same amount of time as it would take it to send it from Wichita to Topeka.
Mm-hmm.
24/7 access. You don't have to worry about the bank closing. The bank doesn't close. It runs on everybody's computer in the whole world. As long as you have access to the internet and your credit keys, you can get on. Number 5, your account cannot be levied. I don't really think that's important. Lower fees. That's all right. Bitcoins are not IOUs. This one doesn't really touch on my favorite. My favorite is that Bitcoin provides a way to escape the trap of the immoral banking system that we're dealing with right now. That is the root of all the stupid problems that we're having in the world. It's the reason why the United States government and other governments can go on these worldwide never-ending wars against ideologies that, you can't ever kill an ideology, but you couldn't fund that war if you had to make the money up. It's the immoral way that governments are allowed to create money out of fiat and rob the rest of us that creates most of our problems. And Bitcoin is the way anybody who wants to can escape the system. And I'm putting money, I'm starting to save in Bitcoin. I only had a few. I've got 3 Bitcoin, and I've decided that at the end of this year, I'm going to look back at the article about 2017 and go, man, I made a lot of money on Bitcoin.
Yeah, I mean, I have a little bit of Bitcoin that you sent me, and even that, I mean, that's quadrupled in value since you've given it to me.
Yeah, how are you going to feel when it pays your student loans off?
Oh, that would be great. That'd be great. I hope the banks will be accepting Bitcoin by then, but we'll see.
Right, dude. I'll give you cash for your Bitcoin. If it's worth money, people will pay money.
Right, and yeah, and the Federal Reserve notes, they are fiat, and how do they have value? Well, you has to be traded against something.
Right.
You have the petrodollar, like you were telling me about, and you have all these foreign wars, and you really investigate and look into why we're over there and why we're doing what we're doing. A lot of times it has to do with oil being traded against the U.S. dollar.
Well,
or not with the U.S. dollar. It's traded in.
Yeah, historically, all wars are at root over resources, right? I mean, that's the root of almost all wars. Maybe not all, but almost all wars. It's a need for resource,
Right.
and that's all. But if you can create wealth, or supposedly create wealth by I mean, it's gangster tactics, is what it is. Is they're making a dollar and saying, "Give me oil for this dollar, or else, well, go ask Saddam Hussein what happens, or go ask Omar Gaddafi what happens, right?
Right.
Go ask Bashar al-Assad what happens if you don't butter us up a little bit."
Yeah. Do you like Hellfire missiles blowing up your cafe?
Well, it's not just your cafe. I mean, this is the most disgusting thing about it. It's another reason why I'd like to be fully on Bitcoin, is so I could not pay taxes to the U.S. government. But they'll do stuff like bomb a wedding convoy because they think there's a wanted terrorist in there, and then they circle around and wait for the paramedics to show up, and then bomb it again. And that's the U.S. government that does stuff like that. Of course, the fake news is never going to report on that.
They're never going to cover that. Yep. I mean, if anyone listening hasn't seen that before, check out Collateral Murder. Type in Collateral Murder on Google and go to WikiLeaks and watch that video. Similar situation where, I mean, AC-130 circling around where there were suspected terrorists, I believe, at an earlier time. Actually, I have it.
WikiLeaks?
Yes. I have that, actually. Let's see here.
I have seen that. Hey, while you're looking that up, I want to do a real quick wrap on our cryptocurrency upbeat news.
I'm just taking it down again.
No, I'm just trying to be professional here. Because I got the rest of this. It's going to be weird if we come back to these stories later.
That's true. I'm all over the place.
I just wanted to mention the other things in here, like the library.io and Steemit, that are blockchain technologies that will allow people a place to go put content, news sources, and stuff like that, that once it's posted onto the blockchain, it cannot be edited. So it's censorship, at least censorship resistant, maybe proof for now.
Right. In theory, you'd only be able to take it down if everyone on the blockchain, their computer got taken down. So it's pretty secure, I would say.
Well, it's distributed. The blockchain is, Bitcoin, I like Bitcoin. I think Bitcoin is going to go to the moon. But even if it doesn't, the blockchain is the invention that I think is going to help us to shrug off these corporate fat cats that are running our lives. It's just going to be able to help the average person go, we don't need your bank.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually, hopefully, we'll figure out that we don't need their government. Because if we didn't have the United States government, and we were just Kansans or just Ricky and Garth, he's gonna, Putin's not going to send a nuclear missile to my house. What did I do to him? Anyway, so that's it. Check me out, Garth Freeman at Steemit.
Oh, absolutely.
The Informer. Is it The Informer at Steemit?
The leader. The leader on Steemit. Yes, Steemit.com. Yeah, Steemit's great, especially if you're an independent content creator and you want a way to, help finance what you're doing. Because when you get re-steamed or basically retweeted or shared, you gain Bitcoin. You get paid in Bitcoin basically for your content, which is awesome.
Right. Well, it can be converted to Bitcoin, but it's not exactly Bitcoin. It's like Bitcoin. It's Steam. They set up their own economy. But anyway, you can sell it for Bitcoin. I have
Cryptocurrency free of government control.
Well, Steemit is anyway, I'm just learning about it, so there's going to be somebody writing an article if they ever listen to this and say, you got it wrong. Because I'm going to put this on Steemit. But I don't think that it's completely without... It's not like Bitcoin where there's no governance. Like Bitcoin, there's nobody that can be arrested to take down Bitcoin. It's completely distributed. Steemit, there are two guys I think there's a corporate control still over what's going on because they're still making changes to it and all this other stuff. It is distributed to a certain extent, but I don't think it's quite as free. I think that the government could probably shut it down at this point, but I don't know. We'll see if the Steemians can straighten me out on that one. You want to go to your collateral murder then?
Oh, sure. Yeah. So, collateral murder is a 39-minute video that you can find on WikiLeaks. There is an abridged version of it that shows gun sight footage during 2007 of the Iraq War. And in the video, Apache helicopter crews fired 30-millimeter cannons at a group of Iraqi men standing at a position insurgents had previously used to attack an American Humvee. Two Reuters war correspondents were in this group. One of them killed and the other was injured. And a second strike was directed at a van that appeared to stop to pick up bodies left in the aftermath, leading to more death and the serious wounding of a 6- and 9-year-old children. So, the person who leaked that was Bradley Manning, and is now a criminal. It was high treason what he did, basically exposing that information.
He's in prison now
to the American public.
As far as I know, none of the people that were caught on the video went to prison. Bradley Manning's been in prison for like a decade now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was pretty disgusting. Yeah, and they're, of course, I mean, you have to dehumanize people to be able to kill them in a war. I mean, part of being a soldier. But it's pretty disgusting to watch because they're sitting there laughing. I mean, they're talking about they don't even know if they got weapons in their hands, and they're like, whatever, kill them anyway. You know?
Mm-hmm.
It's been a while since I've seen it, but it's pretty gruesome.
Yeah, and that's just the stuff that has been revealed. We don't. That's just a glimpse at what could possibly be going on, and to me, it kind of shows how, in a way, we're creating this perpetual war where, innocent people do end up getting killed, and who knows what the families of those people who died are going to do. They could easily be radicalized, and then you've created an enemy out of low back. Yep.
That was Ron Paul. That was one of Ron Paul's major talking points for president the last go around. What are you gonna do if your dad was in that video in the class? What if those two kids that were in the video that got seriously injured? I bet they don't like America all that much. And if somebody comes along and says, Allah says you can go to heaven if you kill some infidels, then they're going to be like, oh, really? Well, I ain't got nothing going on here. Because, ISIS is over there chopping people's heads off. Anyway.
Yeah.
Fun times.
Absolutely. Back to the whole, that journalism is under attack. There's threats to journalism. Over the past 8 years, there have been more whistleblowers put in prison than in the entire history of the United States, and that's national security whistleblowers. I believe the total is over 500 months combined. There's some people who are just going to be in there for the rest of their lives for doing nothing more than doing what a journalist should do. Doing
what journalists
should be doing, but you can't.
Track record of transparency. I'll make our government open and transparent. We'll do it in a transparent way. I want transparency. I want accountability so that the American people can be involved in their own government. Let me say it as simply as I can. Transparency and the rule of law will be the touchstones of this presidency. This is the most transparent administration in history.
Yeah, that one was only 23 seconds, but I just Googled Obama most transparent in history, and there's like a never-ending stream of videos. Yeah, it's crazy because he's it's like Hitler. I'm not trying to compare him like on a level of evilness to Hitler, but it's like what Hitler did. Hitler said, or the quote has been attributed to Hitler anyway, that if you tell a lie often enough and loud enough, people will begin to believe it. I don't know if he actually said it, but
repetition is the most effective way to condition people and to brainwash them, replace their ways of thinking with something new.
Right. Which is why the news channels all read script on the air, and it's the exact same wording from one channel to the next. And they use the keywords like Pizzagate. Like, okay, I don't even really want to get into it, but let's just throw some keywords out there that come out of nowhere. How about Pizzagate? How about fake news?
Fake news.
Yeah, like, so it's just the keywords just come out. Once they start rolling with the keywords, it's like almost an unstoppable chain. Assault rifle, you know, I mean, just whatever it is. There's a billion of them, but
safe space.
Whenever you hear them, you know you're listening to fake news.
Weapons of mass destruction.
Right. They took the babies out of the incubators and took the incubators and left the babies to die on the cold floor. Do you remember that?
No.
You were just a baby. Wait, what year were you born?
95.
You weren't born yet.
Ooh.
Okay. Flashback for the younger generation. I might have to find it on YouTube, but basically, before the first invasion to Iraq, after Saddam Hussein invaded Kuwait, they had this, I want to say, late teenage girl, supposedly Kuwaiti girl, go to Congress and tell Congress that the Iraqi army had invaded the hospitals and took babies out of incubators and left them to die on the floor so they could steal the incubators. And it later came out that the whole thing was a farce. The girl was the daughter of one of the, I want to say, ambassadors of Kuwait. It was all completely made up. But it was, many congressmen have come out and said that was the turning point argument that decided my vote to cast a vote to go to war in Iraq the first time.
Fake news.
Fake news.
Fake news, man.
Just, I mean, the worst is not just that they tell you stories that are not true, but the worst part is that they it's like the movie Wag the Dog. They set up a set and they have actors come in and they, all right, ready, action, and they do the whole role and they just make up a story.
And going back to the NDAA bill, you know, they're up in their production budget now. They got an extra, what, $40 million? I think it's $20 million, right? I mean,
yeah, let me find it.
Millions of extra dollars in production value to fabricate reality and just make stuff up.
Hey, how many people can you pay to make YouTube videos with $20 million?
Oh, quite a bit.
Yeah, especially if they actually start making money off of the YouTube videos, you know?
Set up a close partnership with Alphabet, which owns Google, YouTube, you know. Yeah. Help those channels rise to the top slowly but surely.
Oh, Alphabet. Okay. Do we want to move on to anything else that I put in there? Or you got anything else? You want to talk about Obama off the chain? Or you didn't like that title?
Wait, where is that? Let me
title for the paper that I put in there with all the links.
Oh, okay. Obama's been doing he's been making some moves lately.
Yeah, this is not all of them, but that's what all those links are, is just some of the stuff that he's done. The land grabs, the sanctions against Russia, this one here. Let's look at this one real quick. This one's interesting. because this is like all of this, in my opinion, is just a big middle finger to Trump and everybody who voted for him. It's
Mm-hmm.
like, I am going to tie your hands for the first 3 years of your presidency. Okay, Obama abolishes National Visitor Registry before Trump takes office. This is a registry program intended to track visitors who arrive in the U.S. from countries with active terrorist groups less than a month before President-elect Donald Trump takes office. So this means that, like, people who are coming here from Syria, this registry was intended to track people who were coming from Syria or Yemen or all
I
these
don't need
war-torn.
that.
Right. Oh yeah. We
It's
did
gonna.
the whole time Obama was president, but now that he's leaving, we don't need it anymore. Because we all know that we're not bombing brown people in the Middle East anymore, right?
Oh my gosh.
So I thought that one was pretty.
Oh
I don't
man.
understand how anybody could support this guy. I
He's
don't
been
understand.
really stoking the flames with Russia too. I mean,
Yeah. Oh, the sanctions on Russia. Let's see. Obama slaps Russia with expulsions and broad sanctions for meddling. That's the thing. He's sanctioning Russia for meddling in U.S. elections. There is no proof that Russia meddled in the elections in any way.
and if they did, how dare you do the exact same thing that we've been doing to you for I don't know how long, or elections all across the board. Look, all the dictators we prop up in the Middle East. That's pretty heavy-handed meddling in other people's affairs.
Oh, yeah.
And then we
We've
want
been
to talk.
meddling for. Honestly, though, we've been meddling for as long as we've had a central bank. So, what was that? 1913? Isn't that like right when we went to World War One?
Mm-hmm. It's a strange coincidence.
Yeah, that is interesting. Creature from Jekyll Island, right? You ever heard of that?
Jekyll Island. That's where it was all drafted and put together, right?
Yeah, that's it. Oh,
No.
did you see this about the UN? Okay,
Free beacon.
Yeah, but we should probably start with the Obama says "F you" to Israel. Did you read any of that?
I have not.
Okay. Well, I'll summarize, and if you want the first one, if you want to read any, we can do that. But the first one talks about how the Free Beacon. This is why I'm going with the Free Beacon. They broke the story, but insiders have told the Free Beacon that it was Obama and the White House that orchestrated the whole idea behind this sanction for the settlements, and that's before it went to vote with the UN. It was Obama that was pushing it, and then that's why we abstained. So that's the first article. And then the second article, which we got a Republican Congress, right? Second article, Congress moving to cut U.S. funding to UN in wake of anti-Israel vote. So guys in Congress are trying to pass laws to cut our funding to the United Nations, which I'm sure this doesn't come as a shock to anybody, but we are by far the number one donator to the United Nations.
Uh-huh.
So that to me is pretty interesting. That would be a pretty strong shot at globalism right there. If it
So, is this a partisan thing or?
Well, I'm sure it's partisan. What in the world happens in our government that's not partisan, honestly?
The NDAA
That's true.
was bipartisan. Anything that's bipartisan should probably be more concerning than anything that's partisan.
Anything
My
that is
opinion.
against liberty and for killing people is bipartisan.
At least we can agree on some things.
If we can't sell guns to somebody, damn it, we're gonna kill somebody. That's just it. Okay, so I don't know. We don't need to read those.
Interesting.
I thought that was noteworthy news, and that would be if Congress tries to defund the UN. I think that would cause some more interesting fake news to happen.
I don't know. Maybe the UN should establish a news network. That way, the world can know what's going on.
Yeah. Don't they have something?
I don't know.
That sounds like something that they should have. Yeah, you're right. Let's look at that net.
Because otherwise, how do we know what's going on in the world?
Well, I mean, if you're a major government type organization, you got to have a propaganda wing, right? United Nations News Center. Oh, they spell it the British way. Golly. Yeah, they got a news center here, dude. They got a whole page.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I told you, you got to have propaganda if you're going to be in the government business, and that's what these people want to be. They want to run the world. It's pinky in the brain.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, we're at 45 minutes. Are we? What do we? What direction do you want to take this in? Were you interested at all in my water discoveries, or did you look at that one?
Man, I honestly, I breezed through it, but
I didn't explain where I was going with it, but
it has a lot of crazy stuff in there.
well, one of the things that I think is crazy is that they keep recycling these stories and putting them out like they're new. Like this one, the first one that I've got, okay, New York Times Post, 2016. Let's see how fast it takes. Massive anomaly lurks beneath ice in Antarctica. Oh, this one might not be the one that they recycled. Okay, this one is not recycled. That I just thought was interesting. This gigantic gravitational anomaly that is 151 miles across and almost 3,000 meters deep, or feet deep, under Antarctica,
Ooh.
which they're now saying, oh, we're going to have to readjust all of our timelines for the millions of years and extinction events and all that.
Whatever shall we do?
The one that I was really interested in was these. Let's see. This one is... Okay, let's start out with the old one. 2007. This says, the Daily Mail, an ocean of water is found 620 miles below Earth's surface, and if it dries up, life on our planet can end. So, anyway, whole new story. If you could read all these stories, we can leave notes. They're all basically saying the same thing, but they're acting like it just got happened, or it just got discovered. Then 2014, massive ocean discovered towards Earth's core. A reservoir 3 times the volume of all the oceans that's been discovered deep in the Earth's surface. And this one says it's 700 kilometers.
My guess is it just didn't catch on when they published it the first time.
I know, but then there's more. Okay, so there was another article from this year that they found this ocean. But then I also, while I was looking, I noticed that there's just all these articles that keep getting recycled about water, underground oceans on Pluto, and water on Mars. And anyway, it just looks like propaganda for some reason or another to me. And I just wanted to point it out because it's like they're recycling all these articles about water on other planets, water in the Earth, all these hidden water.
Well, I mean, that's good news because we're apparently running out of water, right?
What? That's the thing that's interesting. For one, I mean, if you read these articles and how they find out that there's water under there, it's pretty tenuous at best. I mean, they're making a lot of leaps, especially the ones about Pluto and Mars and everything like that. But they keep publishing all these articles about finding water everywhere. I don't know. You keep seeing something over and over again, and in my opinion, that makes me want to look twice. So.
Yeah.
Something's going to happen with water.
Oh, man.
I don't know. I'm just trying to keep this thing going a little bit longer. If we reach an hour, it seems like a better time. What else you got?
Man, nothing really. I've really just I'm on the cusp, I would say. I'm on the brink of do we continue to try to tell the truth, and possibly go insane or go crazy from all this, or just do something like entertainment, and then at least there's not there's no illusion there that you're doing good, changing.
Well, you still have an illusion with the entertainment because with entertainment you can easily fall into the illusion that what you're doing is just good fun and it doesn't actually affect people and how they see things. But the entertainment that people allow to influence them, it shapes their perception of the world. That's why people don't care about what's going on in other countries. You know, that's why when you tell people, oh, Obama just signed this law that is going to make it legal to propagandize the people in the United States, they're just like, whatever. I don't care. Because they're programmed.
And that's exactly the thing. That's the thing that's so disheartening about it is, you can get the truth out, you get the news out, and then you really only hit a small fraction of the population that's willing to listen and be open minded. Because a lot of this stuff, if you're listening to this, you might just think that we're crazy or we don't know what we're talking about, right? I feel like that's the impression I give people sometimes.
Well,
But
we haven't talked about anything crazy, but you're right. I mean, I bet you that you're not going to hear anything about the NDAA and propaganda on CNN or Fox.
no, I can guarantee you will not hear about it. It's just not. It's not sexy enough. It's not.
Well, they don't want to tell you that they are lying to you. That that ruins their own credibility. It's like having an argument with a teacher about education. You just can't. You can't tell them nothing. They're invested in it, right? You can't tell a guy that works at H&R Block that the United States is desperately in need of an overhaul of the tax system because it's too complicated. And most people don't understand it. That guy doesn't want to hear that. That's what he wants. So that's one of the problems that you're fighting is everybody's so invested in the system right now. Everybody's invested in the system. And so in order for you to convince people to pull back and look at things a different way, you have to give them reasons to question their investment in the system. Which, it's tough, for sure.
College gets pretty damn invested, especially, you're taking loans out.
Yeah.
You certainly get invested there. You're here for the long haul.
Well,
in America.
You have the financial investment, but you also have the emotional investment and the intellectual investment as well.
Right.
And who wants to spend? Well, we're in Kansas, so I ain't going to put a dollar amount on it. But let's just say you lived anywhere, USA. Who wants to spend $100,000 on an education that, at the end of the day, you don't think you learn anything useful? No. Whatever you learned, you're going to tell yourself is useful and true and right because you paid $100,000 for it.
Oh my God! It better be worth $100,000.
Right. And it's a very rare person who's going to get to the end of that and go, man, that wasn't
money well spent.
No, I tell you, I have a college degree, and it was not worth it for me.
Yeah.
I'm not telling anybody else what to do, but for me, it was not worth it. I would have been money ahead to just go to work, just do my own thing.
If you're not in the STEM college, if you're not trying to be a doctor or a lawyer, nah. If you're wanting to do gender studies or film and media, or journalism, mass comm, please don't do that.
Studies, that reminds me of something else we could talk about. I do not watch TV because I don't have one, but I saw that on YouTube. There is a video on MTV, and it is
oh my God,
New Year's advice or something for white males. So it's like a 3-minute video where MTV characterizes, I want to say 100 million people in this country alone to basically be exactly the same. They
Yep.
stereotype 100 million people and say, you're all like this, you dirty white males. It's like the most racist, sexist thing I've ever seen in my entire life, but it's no big deal because we're white males.
No, if you're a white male, you're supposed to hate yourself. You are
Well,
supposed to hate yourself.
I
That's
refuse.
it's honestly, every other culture is encouraged to take pride in their identity and who they are, and white people are just supposed to feel guilty about themselves. That's what I've taken away from.
The thing that I've taken away from it is that the whole idea of race is stupid. It's stupid on its face.
Hmm.
Like, and I know people are going to say this is overly simple, but a black lab does not hate a yellow lab because he's yellow. It's a dog. It's a lab. They're the same dog. It doesn't matter. People are the same way. It's just a different color of skin. The whole idea of bringing it into every conversation is just a tactic to divide people. It's just a way to cause a certain group of people to hate another certain group of people, so they can use that to steer the major political parties who are split down two major lines, and they divide people mostly by race and sexual orientation and their belief in God or lack thereof. And they fall neatly into one of these two categories, and if you don't, you just get pushed there gradually.
Hmm. Yep, and yeah, that's the thing. What was I gonna say? It's sick. It's sick.
I'm sorry, I was just looking in the background there, your screen. You almost look like you're in a prison cell, except for the TV. Like a
No,
halfway house.
it's pretty narrow in here.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
hot too. I can't even turn the AC on in here because
it would drown out the mic, or
no, they shut it off. So it gets to a certain point where it's freezing temperatures long enough, and then they kick the heat on. Until then, you're freezing your ass off.
Is it a real big building?
Yeah, it's decent sized.
It's probably got a boiler in there. It probably takes a lot to get it going.
Yeah.
But anyway.
No, but yeah, the identity politics really drives me nuts, and it distracts people from the real enemy. I mean, because what percentage of white people are in politics, are in high positions of power in the federal government? It doesn't matter what skin color they are. Those are the people that we should be concerned with and be criticizing and trying to get rid of, in my opinion.
Well, I am personally against anybody whose idea of what we should do is tell other people what they can and can't do if they're not hurting anybody. So, see how that goes. That puts me against about everybody. Except Ron Paul.
Ron Paul?
Speaking of Ron Paul, did you see that one of the electors actually voted for Ron Paul?
Really?
Ron Paul, yeah. Ron Paul got more electoral votes than Gary Johnson, and he wasn't even on the ballot.
Man, Ron Paul should have been the Libertarian candidate.
Well, Ron Paul, I would have voted for him, but he's pretty old at this point. So, I would have liked to have seen John McAfee. That would have been a good one. He might have won. Well, no, he wouldn't have won. But he might have got on one of the debates.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see. I think, I really am hoping anyway that technology, I think this censorship battle that's going on is going to force people into these newer technologies like the blockchain type of stuff that are going to be free of censorship, and it's going to make those other old systems obsolete. That's what I'm hoping is going to happen. So we'll see.
We can hope. I just hope in the process technology doesn't bring us down. I just see a lot of negative aspects of technology.
Well,
I'm just sitting in a public area, you look around, and everyone's doing this. Spend our whole day looking down.
yeah, but it won't be very much longer before the computers are on our eyeballs, Ricky.
Oh, that'll make everything so much better.
Hey, I'm not. You know it's true too.
Yeah.
But the thing is, you can't put the genie back in the bottle. This is the lot you're dealt with. We're gonna see. You know what? If there's big social upheaval, then a lot of this technology may exist, but it'll be sporadic, and a lot of people aren't gonna get it. But if that doesn't happen, it just is. This is just the world that we live in. You know, either you're gonna put a microchip in your brain at some point in the future, or you're not. And I'm not. I don't know about you, but not me.
Oh, what's that? What's that movie with Bruce Willis and everyone's in Surrogates. Surrogates.
Oh yeah, I've seen
Everyone
that.
has robot bodies that are perfect and beautiful, and in reality, people are just like sitting in their living room like a fat blob, just like living through this robot. And then there's a faction of people who aren't doing that.
Honestly, that's a pretty popular theme. I just saw a video. It was actually an older one. It was some transhumanist video that was talking. It was, I want to say it was like mid 2000, like 2005 or 2006. But it was saying, "Oh, we're gonna have avatars by 20." I want to say it said by 2020. We're gonna have like people are gonna be able to upload their consciousness into an avatar, and basically never get sick again. And then it was, I can't remember the exact date, but this video was saying like by 2045, something like that, we'll be able to basically we'll be rid of our brains and our bodies. We're just going to be totally consciousness.
Just trying to reinvent the Garden of Eden.
Yeah, you're going to live forever and be like God, right? Genesis 3? Or is it 2?
It's, yeah. Of course, they don't want you to crack that book open.
Well, you know, the funny thing about it is, well, not the funny thing about it. This is something that I tell myself to keep everything in perspective. But all the things that science knows and all the things that science is able to do right now can be wiped out in a split second by one single thing that we know for sure has happened to this Earth many times. You know what that is? Giant solar flare.
Oh, yeah.
Boom. How many scientists even claim to be able to control or predict solar flares? Not a single one.
None.
So, I'm not saying we're going to have a solar flare. All I'm just saying is God controls the sun. God is still in control. You know, of all these things, like right now they're saying, oh, we found a massive ocean under the core of the Earth, but we can't even come close to drilling deep enough, right? They found a gravitational anomaly with these sophisticated satellites in outer space, but there's no way that we can even get close to getting down there to see what it is. The sun could wipe all life on this planet out in a heartbeat with, you know, solar flares that it actually has that are big enough to wipe us out. They're just pointing the other way. You know, it can happen at any moment. But I'm not worried about it happening because I know who's running the show.
Right. Yeah, I mean,
Obama.
A lot of people like to think that science helps disprove God, you know, through the God of a gap, so we don't understand something, so therefore God did it, right? And then science, over time, has disproven it. But, you know, in actuality, I think that with the advancement of science, it's created more evidence that there is a divine architect who put all this stuff together. If you just look at the complexity of a human eyeball and all the different nerve endings and how they're connected and how it's just right, just the right size with the right shape of lens to have human sight is pretty incredible. If we did evolve from primordial ooze to what we are now, it would basically be like throwing a deck of cards just in the street an infinite number of times until it magically turned into a perfectly standing house of cards.
Right.
It's the equivalent of that.
It does astound me the way people look at the same evidence and come up with different conclusions. But yeah, you see some things that, well, okay, I'll give you an example. The other day, I'm on this special, the ketosis. I'm trying to do this dietary ketosis. I'm playing with that, so I'm sitting here trying to figure out how ketones are metabolized and all the different processes that go in there. That's one thing. I don't see how evolution could explain any single bit of it, much less the system of like the ATP engine and how ketones and glycose and all that are converted in the different processes in the body just to get energy out of simple mechanisms.
Mm-hmm.
There's no way. All those parts have to work. They have to be working together in order for any of them to have a point.
Right.
There's all kinds of examples like that in nature, and the more that we're able to observe, the better we're able to build microscopes to look at small things or telescopes to look out into the space, the more that we see that everything is complicated.
Right. Infinitely complicated.
Right. And infinitely big and infinitely small.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
It never stops. I mean, that doesn't make any sense without a designer, right? It's almost like there's a genius designer that's playing games with you, tempting you to explore, but giving you enough to say, "Oh, there's no way I can get to the end of this puzzle." Maybe not.
I don't know. I think it makes more sense that, just everything came out of nothing and it was a big explosion 90 billion years ago, and then we evolved from primordial ooze over the slow progression.
That's the point at which all the scientific theories, and I'll admit I'm no genius, they all lose me at that point, where this Big Bang, it doesn't answer the question of why is there matter when there could be not matter. When you look at matter on these microscopes and you put them in particle accelerators, and we figure out that in fact at a particle level matter is all energy. It's basically all energy, and all energy is deteriorating, entropy, so everything is basically falling apart. That leaves the question, where did it all come from? It had to come from somewhere. There had to be an original source of energy that somehow became matter. It didn't just come from nothing. So you could say the Big Bang, but I've never heard anybody explain it to where I understood how that takes God out of the equation. How does that eliminate the need for answering the question of where did all this stuff come from? Basically, the most basic question: where did all this stuff come from?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and if by some miracle there's someone out there listening right now, and they believe in evolution and they're a staunch, scientific atheist, you are just as religious as the Christian next door or the Muslim next door. You are basing, your worldview on belief and faith in a theory that has not been proven. We have never witnessed the formation of a star. We've never witnessed the formation of a planet. We've never witnessed one species evolving into a higher species, or a higher species evolving into a lower species. We can observe microevolution, variations within a species, within a kind. You can turn a Labradoodle, you're a Labrador and a poodle into a Labradoodle, but you're not going to change a dog into a cat. It hasn't been done yet. So, just recognize that it's a belief. I think that's my thing. And
it all goes back to fake news, buddy. I'm going to tie this into fake news. Watch this. You know why people believe all that stuff is because it's fed to them. And it's not just on fake news, but it's all propaganda. And this is why I'm against the Department of Education. Because that's where it all really comes from. It's from a centralized location telling all the people to teach the kids this. And that's where they learn it. You go to school and they tell you this. And I've bought some of the textbooks, so I've seen them. But they put them in the textbooks. Billions of years ago, this happened. But nobody stops and says, wait, hang on. Billions of years. Okay, wait a minute. How do you know that? And I have asked these questions. You know, I remember in school asking these questions, but you don't get a lot of chance. You know, they would tell you, carbon dating. Well, first of all, I remember being told that, but now as an adult, I know you can't carbon date billions of years. You have to do other methods. But nobody, or very few people, take the time to actually ask the questions. Well, how do they know this? And how do they know that? And if you do, it's all built on a pile of assumptions. Or not all, but a lot of it is built on a pile of assumptions. Real science that can be reproduced, that other people can verify, says very little about how old the Earth is and where all the life came from.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know, Neil deGrasse Tyson and Bill Nye they are the modern day sage. They are the modern day like high wizard who can just explain everything that's going on to you. It's like in primitive societies, the people who were able to study the stars and figured out how constellations move and when the rain was going to come, the people that were able to tell people when it was going to rain, these people are like gods. You know, they understand how the world works in a small extent. So we give them all this power, and so we don't question it. And that's my thing is we don't give enough skepticism to what we're being fed. And you know, I grew up in a parochial school system, and there were advantages of that. There was disadvantages of that. But I think ultimately what I got of that, it's sectional. You learn small sections of a wider philosophy. You never actually get to learn about other worldviews or other philosophies. So, like, we spent one semester learning about every other religion ever.
Right.
One semester. And then you spend, how many years? 12 years learning about
Islam from Father O'Brien. Right? Or something like that.
Yeah. You know, who better to teach you about Islam?
Right.
But you know, ultimately, I just got fed up with it, and I'm highly skeptical of whatever environment I'm in, whether it's a public education system or a private education system. I'm highly skeptical of what I'm being taught and what I'm being fed. You know, that's just something I'm going to take with me in life from experiencing all of that. And
I think that's something that is going to need to be a part of your everyday toolkit from here on out. I think the world level of bull hockey is stacking up to an unbelievable level at this point. There's so much that we have to wade through every day that, I don't see how people do it. Just believe what they're told, but not me.
Question everything. You know, question what I'm saying and what you're saying. Question everything. It is possible to arrive at good conclusions. You know, it's possible to know things at the end of the day, but
not everything is worth knowing too. That's I think
right.
Another thing that some people have a hard time with is knowing when to just let some stuff go. Hey, Flat Earth Society, I'm talking to you.
I don't know, man. Have you seen those GoPro videos where they send a hot air balloon into space? Looks pretty flat to me. Man. It looks pretty damn flat to me.
You know, it's just one of those things. Here's the thing. Okay, you can argue it till you're blue in the face. Yes, it looks flat if you GoPro and you put it on a rocket. But at the same time, if you look at how high that rocket was on a globe comparatively in scale, it wouldn't even be as high as if you put a thumbtack on there, the top of the thumbtack over the Earth. So if you're that little tiny speck on the top of a thumbtack, it's going to look pretty flat. And if you're only 1/3 of the way up the thumbtack, which is really more likely an accurate scenario, it's going to look flat.
Right.
Maybe you're going to see some curvature. I don't know. I mean, I've been in a plane and looked out the window flying over the ocean, and it looked curved to me. But then I've been told that I can't trust that because the windows are mirrored. Well, you know what? Whatever. I fail to see how it's significant. One way or the other. So that's my point. That's my whole point. At some point, you just have to realize that not everything is worth chasing down to an absolute degree.
Right.
Sometimes you just gotta let some stuff go.
Yeah.
Like,
choose your battles wisely.
Pizzagate go.
Yeah.
I'm not against the idea of it, but there's no victims. There's no proof. I think Pizzagate probably was a real thing, but as soon as the Podesta emails got hacked, they concreted up the kill room in the basement and got rid of all the evidence, and now they're using it as bait to, expose all these people as basically poor journalists and not doing their due diligence.
But I mean, how was this like a fresh? I can't remember how that story broke. Like, were these Pizzagate emails just sitting there, and then eventually someone got around to reading them on WikiLeaks?
Here's how I remember it. There was the WikiLeaks emails,
right?
And at first, it wasn't. It was talking about, people were just talking about the Benghazi, and then there was a release. This is how I remember it. There was a release that the NYPD had subpoenaed Anthony Weiner over some allegations that he was sexting a minor, and they had his laptop that supposedly had child pornography on it and links to the Democratic Party. Then I hear that people start looking for these code words that are supposedly related to child pornography and all this other stuff, and they're doing searches, which you can do. I've done. You can go into the emails and do the searches. It's easy. It is weird.
Control F.
Yeah, I mean, well, you can search WikiLeaks right up at the top. You can just put in cheese pizza. A little search. You can go to the little left side of the page. It says what emails you're looking through.
Yeah,
I mean, it makes it pretty easy.
It is strange. And, the other concern I have with WikiLeaks now is, where the hell is Julian Assange? Is he dead? I don't think anyone's seen him for a month and a half.
Well,
it's kind of a similar scenario where you have like an Alex Jones type, or someone who probably started out, they really want to get the truth out, and then they turn into a gatekeeper of information. Like, we perceive WikiLeaks to be just like this kind of like hammer that smashes at the government and exposes corruption. But what if it has been subverted? What if Julian Assange is gone now, the CIA has taken over, and the new regime, the new Trump regime, is using it as a tool to, clear all the people that they don't want out. That's also a possibility that I'm sure some people have talked about it, but I think it's important to consider.
I think Julian Assange himself is a shady character. He seems written. He seems like somebody made that character and gave him a role, and he's always in perfect light. I don't know. Anyway, we'll see, but, like, the whole story just seems conflagrated. And it's like, he's charged with, I don't even know if I could make the whole thing up if I wanted to. He's charged with sex crimes in, I don't even remember where, like South Africa. Then he goes to Europe, and he's in London, and the Ecuadorian embassy is hiding him. But he's thwarting all the major governments of the world, thumbing his nose at the U.S. Secret Service and CIA and all that, releasing all this stuff for years, living inside a tiny little embassy, and I don't know. I mean, just
it's pretty crazy story there,
novel.
Right?
Okay, so I tend to be skeptical of stuff like that. If I look at stuff and it looks like a B movie plot, I'm like,
Yeah.
So I'm skeptical of Snowden as well, because why wouldn't that guy just drop his stuff into WikiLeaks? And then, why bring all the attention to himself? And I know he gives his little reasonings. It doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't answer muster. I mean, Bradley Manning supposedly only got caught because he went onto other chat rooms and started talking with other people, right? He was emotionally insecure and whatever.
Yeah.
But most of the other people who have dropped stuff into WikiLeaks remained anonymous. So I think it's fair to assume that Snowden could have done that.
Yeah, he probably wanted some recognition.
Well,
which
I guess he got it.
That's not the. I don't know why I wouldn't. I wouldn't want to be, going up against high treason. I'd rather just get the information out.
Here's another thing that bothers me, though. I mean, like, you're making your video on your phone, right? I've got, it's an Osdom HD webcam that I got for like $9 on Amazon. Okay, I'm making fake news in my house. You're making fake news in your house. But Snowden runs to Russia and makes a video with like a $19,000 professional studio camera and says, I'm releasing all these. I mean, it just looks like it was made in a movie studio.
Yeah.
It's the same thing as that shooting the other day in Turkey, the Russian diplomat. It looked like it was made in a movie studio. Like, where are all the awesome cameras most of the other times?
Oh my god, dude! I totally agree. There's moments in news coverage.
Camera set up when Hillary Clinton is collapsing on 9/11. Perfect lighting, perfect camera setup in a stable position.
That's why I call it, America season. How long has this country been around? A couple hundred years.
We've been making propaganda for at least 100 years.
Yeah. So I mean, however many seasons that is, this 2016 has been a great season. In all honesty, I've been glued to the television screen. There's been some nights where I'll go over to a buddy's house and we will just sit on the couch when there's breaking news and flip between the 4 or 5 different stations just to get propaganda, get all to the different angles.
I can't handle
it. After a while, it gives me, it's too much. Like, you have to stop at a certain point. But I remember vividly the night in Dallas a couple months ago when all the Black Lives Matter riots were really flaring up. And we were watching it, and there's riots there weren't riots, but they're protests. They're protests in New York. There's a protest in Dallas. There's a protest in Chicago. There's a protest in LA. And you could flip between all the different channels and watch. They're covering it live, right? Covering it live. You go onto Periscope on the phone, and there's people broadcasting it live through their phone. You can go to each city and see people in the streets, what they're doing. And it's just really strange. It's just different. And then Fox News. We're watching Fox News, okay? And 30 minutes before everyone else, I swear, because when this happened, I was trying to Google it. I was trying to go to different sources and see what the hell had happened, because they literally broke this story on live television 30 minutes early, which is kind of crazy when you think about it. But a local Fox affiliate had a camera guy on the ground just kind of walking around, filming protesters. You hear a couple gunshots pop off. And by the way, you can't find this clip anywhere on the internet. I've looked because it's great cinematography. You hear a couple shots pop off. A crowd of people starts running at the camera guy. And what does the camera guy do? He just starts freaking running and where the people are running from. He starts running. So you're on foot. You got the camera, shaky camera like this. And then you finally the whole time they're narrating this. It's insane. And you get to a scene, and there's 2 or 3 cop cars just in the middle of the street, lights going, and you see 3 officers just on the ground, dead. And it's just unbelievable. And then they cut away.
Yeah.
It's off the air. You can't find it anywhere. And the thing was, when they were doing it live, one of the hot blondes, whoever it was on Fox News, was was like, oh, well, we got to cut away now. We got to cut away. So they go to, a different shot in New York or some shit. And the whole night they had been playing clips of black people being murdered by cops on body cams and cell phones. They play that footage over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. And then once you see a dead cop on live TV that got killed by somebody, they got to cut away.
Right.
And that, to me, that really struck me. On top of the fact that the whole thing just seemed really, really staged. And they got that 30 minutes. No one was talking about it for a whole 30 minutes.
Well, it's the ministry of truth. That's what we got to look forward to, is more stuff like that from our good old ministry of truth. That's not what they're calling it. Hang on. What are they calling it again?
I don't know if they have an official name for it yet. The name of the bill.
I want to call it Ministry of Truth, really.
Yeah. I mean, Trump's going to be ready for that. He's a media pro at this point,
Yeah.
He's going to be having some fun on there, if I had to guess. That's my question. Is it going to be like RT, where, it's like an actual broadcast station, they have YouTube videos and stuff?
Well, RT is fake news.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's basically the Kremlin's equivalent of what we would be doing. But who knows? Maybe it is kind of like what you're saying. It's more hidden. So you're hiring independent people and just different people from different parts of the government to produce content. Kind of like what we're doing now.
Right. But it's not some schlub doing it because he wants to put some truth out. It's the guy that works for the government and he gets a paycheck and he acts like he's some schlub.
Yeah.
Okay, hang on. I'm almost there. It's the Countering Information Warfare Act. I know there's a name for it. The Ministry of Truth. In the sense that.
See, I mean, you have the whole. Oh, sorry.
You're good.
It's the whole of government.
Analysis and Response. Ministry of Truth. Center for Information Analysis and Response.
Center.
It's just referred to as the center. In most
what?
That's what it's.
Oh god.
Well, in the rest of the article, it says at the very first paragraph, hereafter referred to as the center.
Oh, okay. The center. That's gonna be so we could start making some money on some scripts, some Hollywood scripts.
Oh,
these are good ideas.
I wanted to mention, by the way, while we're talking about the Ministry of Truth, Google, the text you sent me the other day.
Oh, wait.
The screenshot with the Zionist thing.
Yes, dude. Yes.
You know what that was, right? That's Google.
It was fun. Yeah. It was a Google AdSense.
My Google was showing me. I got on there and it was showing me advertisements for silver, and then I refreshed it, and there was something else. Oh, it was some workout thing. I don't know. Because that's crazy though. I mean, like, I've had times where I wasn't even looking on the internet. I was just talking to somebody about, like, this example, crockpot. I was talking to this guy at work about how my crockpot was not big enough. And then a couple hours later, I got onto Amazon and it came up immediately, started showing me crockpots.
Oh god. Oh my. So I was at my friend's house last night, okay? And he got the new iPhone 7, right?
Right.
Beautiful piece of machinery. Looks just amazing looking. Besides the point. He put his phone like all the way across the room. Like music playing.
Right.
And he's like, "Hey Siri." I mean, the shit pops up, and you could ask it a question. It's getting really good at hearing what you're saying. Is my
There it
point.
is.
Getting
Think
real
about
good.
think about how much training that thing is getting. It's getting millions of people training it, giving it input and how to respond and everything.
Hmm.
I don't know. I don't know how much actual artificial intelligence that thing has, but I'm assuming a bit. It'd have to.
Yeah, it has the speech recognition and it feeds off of it does a lot of googling for you. But I mean, you can do some things like put something on a calendar, set your alarm, call
Yeah, but
so
it
and
has to
so.
be able to make inferences and I mean, just to understand human speech, it has to. It can't just be a list of command words. It has to be able to follow along. It has to have some sort of intelligence to follow language. I would think.
Yeah,
I don't know. I'm not a programmer.
yeah. I don't know.
But
It was just pretty creepy to me.
it
But
is creepy. Oh man, the Amazon's the same thing though. They got all these
oh,
Amazon gadgets. That what's the new? It's not Siri. It's something else. It starts with an S too, I think.
um, Amazon and Google, they both have one of those.
No,
The new smart
Alexa. That's what
home.
it is. Alexa
Alexa,
is in
yeah.
there. Amazon Alexa.
Okay. Have you seen the story with the murder case with the Amazon Alexa?
I don't think so.
Okay, let me pull that one up. This is pretty interesting.
All right,
Um,
you pull it up real quick. I need to take a quick humanity break.
okay,
We'll be right back.
intermission. Get a sip of water. It's hot. It is really hot in here. There we go. Get some airflow. That's better.
I should have had you spit a rhyme while I was doing that. Be entertained.
Oh yeah, I actually performed last night
All
at a
right.
bar. At a bar, I did it like a
You
like a
get
20
paid for
minute.
doing that?
Mm-hmm.
How much time?
15 minutes. I did. It was short. Uh, $30.
So
15
what, you
minutes.
go
No
up there
time.
and do what is that? 3 songs, 2 or 3 songs,
Uh,
or is
there.
it like a freestyle deal?
I had like 5 or 6. Some of them were kind of short, but I just had them all chunked together and have this have the track, play on my phone and then just rapped over it. But that was pretty fun.
Cool.
But yeah, back to this Alexa thing with Amazon. Um, these are the type of legal and issues pertaining to privacy and just, search and seizure that we're going to see when there's more and more of these devices that are listening to what we're saying and recording it. So this is from CNN, and this is a very reliable source because it's CNN.
Fake news.
Amazon is pushing back against an Arkansas prosecutor's demand for information from a murder suspect's Echo smart speaker, setting up another legal battle over investigators' quest for technology-based evidence and American privacy rights. I'm gonna say this like a newscaster. And this is, Alexa, can you help with this murder case? Benton County prosecuting attorney Nathan Smith hopes the voice-activated Echo, which answers users' questions, plays music, reads news, and connects to other smart devices, will provide information on how a man came to be found dead in 31-year-old James Bates' hot tub. So this guy was killed in this other dude's hot tub, and the cops want to compel Amazon to give them the information that this device has recorded, right? Because it was sitting outside by the hot tub. Okay, that's the story. So Bates' defense attorney, Kimberly Weber, says there's nothing useful on the device and applauds Amazon for protecting her client's privacy. Amazon's basically giving them the finger and saying, we're not doing this. Bates, who was arrested in February on suspicion of first-degree murder, is presently free on a $350,000 bond. Discovery hearing in his case is scheduled for March. So I mean, yeah, this is pretty. This would set a precedent if the courts were able to compel Amazon to fork over that information that this device is recorded.
This inspires me to. I kind of want to go to my bookshelf and grab a book so I can show it to the camera of a book that everybody needs to read. It's called 1984. It covers all the same stuff we've been talking about tonight, including this.
Yeah.
You know what a panopticon is?
Panopticon is it the screens?
No.
So we're talking about 1984, right? Because this reminds me of like those
I don't
TV
know if
screens.
Panopticon was actually on 1984, or if the word was actually in 1984, but it's the same kind of an idea. A panopticon is a prison where basically it's self-monitoring. Everybody monitors themselves. They know they're being watched. They know that they're going to get caught if they, are exposed or whatever. So that everybody just follows the rules. And it's the same kind of thing that's going on in 1984, but I don't think they actually talked about it in 1984.
Yeah, it's present. It's in 1984. There's like televisions in the wall that they can see through the people can see on the other end can see through the television and see what people are doing. I mean, surveillance state.
I'm on the Wikipedia page, so that's not fake news at all. I'm trying to see if it mentions 1984. It does not. So I don't think it's not exactly the same because they got drawings of how it would work out and everything. But it's the same idea in my mind. How
Panopticon?
Panopticon. It's actually a prison. Let's see what it says on Wikipedia. Yeah. Type of institutional building designed by English philosopher. The concept of the design is to allow all inmates of an institution to be observed by a single watchman without the inmates being able to tell whether or not they are being watched. Although it is physically impossible for the single watchman to observe all cells at once, the fact that the inmates cannot know when they are being watched means that all inmates must act as though they are being watched at all times, effectively controlling their own behavior constantly. So it's not exactly a building in 1984, but it's the same thing. I mean, Winston. That's why that's what propels the whole novel is that they know they're being watched.
Mm-hmm.
And that's
so they have to go out into the daisy field,
That's what the Internet of Things is, by the way, is the Panopticon.
Oh my gosh! I'm so glad the webcam on my laptop is broken. Although I could be being fooled.
I have already figured out a low-tech way to defeat that. Would you like to see my solution?
Does
On
it?
top of my webcam.
There you go. Boom.
Watch, see how well it works?
That's
Boom. Perfect.
this is a breakthrough.
It's low-tech, dude. Low-tech solutions.
Hmm.
But, yeah, Panopticon. That's what we're dealing with. That's what all this spying on everybody. Also, 1984, the Newspeak idea, where you can't ever know what's right because they change the story so many dang times.
Yeah, you have Winston sitting in the Ministry of Truth, right? And he's redacting stories and changing things because it's fake news. It's not correct anymore. So we got to fix the narrative.
Right.
I mean, really, that novel is just, I see it everywhere now. More and more even in the past couple of years. I've only been really conscious and really active in paying attention for what's going on for the past, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 years. Like really paying attention, but it seems like it's regressing or
Yeah.
progressing into that.
Well, I feel like we're going into a mix between 1984 and A Brave New World with some other stuff thrown in there, but I really do think that the whole idea of Soma. Have you read A Brave New World?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So you know what Soma is, right?
Yes, it is the lovely
The love
uh,
drug.
the love drug that they all take and have orgies. I think,
Honestly,
right?
though, it's not just orgies. I mean, they just take it to
Just for fun.
They say it's like taking a vacation in the afternoon. Well,
Right.
that whole idea of drugging people into, submission, basically, I see that happening. That is totally happening. And the idea of engineering people, for specific tasks, I think that we're getting pretty close to doing that right now, too. We're already at the point where if we wanted to, we could be like, I would like a male baby with black hair that'll be 6'5", and you can already pick a lot of genetic traits
Mm-hmm.
with the technology that are coming up and they're getting more developed and everything like that. It's going to be, CRISPR-Cas9. You can, they got flaws in it right now, but I think eventually they're going to be able to say, would you like his index finger to be longer than his middle finger? Okay, we can do that. I mean, like every gene, they'll be able to just plug out and put in whatever they want. And once they're able to do that, well, they can just manufacture humanity.
I do not like that. But maybe I'm just not progressive enough, I'm just scared of technology. I'm just scared of biology. I don't understand science. So I'm just being ignorant for being against that. Ugh.
That's true.
Ugh.
If you don't want a microchip in your brain, if you don't trust Google, that's the thing that bothers me. Is like people are like, the Google Glass and the contact. They got contacts. There's a patent out right now for contacts. So
Have you had
hit the mark.
Have you tried the Google Blood?
Google
Blood. It's amazing. It's like regular blood, but it's Google.
Dude. Okay, so a lot of stuff you say reminds me of books that I've read. There's a book called Old Man's War, and it's on Audible. I want to say John Scalzi, and basically it's the future. We're really going off the rails on this podcast, but it's the future, and they've got the technology to put your consciousness into a completely artificially manufactured body. And they only do it so people live on Earth, normal lives, they die when they're old. But if they want to, when they get old, they can go join the Galactic Army or whatever and get their consciousness transferred into this new body. And it's got, like, the blood in the book, it's trademarked blood, and like the corporations build these suits for them, the meat suits, and they go in. They do all these wars, and at the end of it, their reward is they get put back into another human body, but it's artificially created as well.
That's very interesting, actually. So, have you seen the new episodes of Black Mirror? Are you still watching that?
I have not seen. I've only seen the first 3 or whatever. I haven't seen the second set yet. I don't watch a lot of TV. I'll get to it.
Well, there is an episode in there that is extremely similar. But but it's transhumanism. It's a transhumanism story. Like people that are in this nursing home, they they're able to like spend time in a virtual reality where they're 20 years old again, basically, and like hang out with other people who are almost about to die. It's like a way to cope with death. Like they are able to like have fun before they die, basically, because nothing's after this. That's kind of like implied, right? And then you don't know this is happening the whole time. It's just like, so it's interesting because like you can go each night, you go do it. You get like 1 day a week or whatever. It's like Friday night, like you want to go back to the 80s, right? You want to go back to your childhood,
You could
or
just
like
go
when you were young
1985.
again.
That'd
Yeah, and like
honestly,
hang out.
That'd be awesome.
And everyone's just drinking and partying and then having a good time. And there's this other part where people go, and it's like out in the desert. It's in the desert. This is interesting. It's in the desert, and it's a wasteland, and people are just like in this. It's like an industrial building, and people are just like basically having orgies and just doing a bunch of drugs and just being crazy, depraved people. And you find out later that these people are actually dead. Like 80% of the people in the simulation are already dead. They uploaded their brain
One
into.
guy there hanging out.
No. They're all were once they used to be people, but they
Oh.
decided to upgrade into the afterlife.
Oh.
They upload their brain there permanently. Their body in real life dies, and they're stuck there. And then
Like
eventually,
Johnny Depp in that one movie.
mm-hmm.
What's that
And
movie?
oh yeah, I never watched it. I just saw it got like shit ratings.
It was not bad, but I can't remember the name of it. So anyway, I'll look it up.
Yeah, it was interesting. That was very interesting. Like the people who were in the simulation, after a while, they all ended up in that like desert, basically, because they were trying to. They're focused on like the physical,
Right.
because they're trying to feel something in this virtual reality, and it's not quite real.
Huh.
I don't know. It was cool.
Transcendence is the name of that movie I was thinking of, but
I never watched it. It just kind of it looked strange.
well, it is. It's the same kind of theme though, which is interesting. And I'm not saying it's a great movie, but it's just right up there. I mean, he uploads his consciousness into the computer. I mean, his body dies. It's been a while. I can't remember if they do it out of necessity or if he planned it. But he uploads his consciousness into the computer, and then he takes people over. Like he figures out a way to hack into a human brain. He just like takes people over. It's pretty crazy. But there's a lot of stuff that is like that. That's a lot of stories about stuff like that. But I think because that kind of stuff is going to be possible. That kind of stuff is going to be a part of our lives.
Mm-hmm. I agree. It's on the horizon. I just don't buy it. Like, I don't think that if I make a copy of my brain and put it on a computer, that's not going to be me. I'm still going to die. No. I don't see the point of that.
Right.
It doesn't seem...
The thing is, nobody can really define what consciousness is. I mean, until you can actually say what consciousness is, how can you try to transfer it to something else? You can't move it from a brain into a computer. Well, you don't know what consciousness is. And even if you could artificially create consciousness into a computer, how would you know that that's the same type of consciousness that you can use? I mean, it's a long way off for that kind of thing. I think that the idea of moving your brain into a non-human synthetic type of body is a lot closer.
Yeah.
They already did. I can't remember if it was successful, but they have attempted a human head transplant in China.
Oh!
I cannot remember the outcome, or maybe it hasn't happened yet, but it's on the schedule.
I can't imagine that's going to end well.
It doesn't look like it's happened yet. There's a guy who's going to do it in China, and it looks like in August, November. Yeah, so I don't think it's happened yet, but it is happening. There's a guy that's got like this paralyzed body, and I'm sure they're going to use poor some poor criminal in China.
Oh Lord.
Because that's where all the world's donor organs come from, is just from some poor criminal in China.
Oh, are you an organ donor on your license?
I am, but I don't plan on using that anytime soon.
See, I don't know if this is an urban legend, but I've heard if you have an organ donor on your ID and you get in a car wreck, the people at the hospital will let you die quicker. They don't try to save you.
Well, okay, so I have to say that from personal experience, I would have to say that may be true, but I know paramedics personally. I know several of them, and they're not going to pull your driver's license out while they're trying to save your life to find out whether or not you're an organ donor. They don't care. Mostly. I'm not going to say there's not guys out there that are doing that, but the guys that I know that are paramedics, like when we're not, I mean, we're just like hanging out, driving down the road, will make us stop if they see a car wreck on the side of the road so they can go try to see if they can save somebody's life. I mean, they're not in it to harvest organs. But that being said, I don't know that many paramedics. I just know a few.
Yeah.
But it's like anything else. I think it's real people. I have it on mine because you know what? Screw it. If they, I don't see how it can harm me all that much. If they take my organs and it ends up killing me, I still feel like I won in the end if somebody else gets to live out of it. Because I'll be back.
Yeah. Well,
I'll
yeah,
be
I have it
back.
on mine too. I'll be back.
I'm like Schwarzenegger. I'll be back. I know I'm coming back. And
So
it's
here,
not because of Ray Kurzweil's technology.
this is an interesting article from Quartz. Scientists say your mind isn't confined to your brain or even your body. So a lot of scientists have thrown religion out. They've just kind of thrown all of it. They don't believe in anything that they can't see with their own eyes or touch, measure. So there's all these like
Except for
spiritual.
dark matter.
There's all these. There's all this like. There's these spiritual phenomenons and concepts that they try to put into scientific words, and it just makes me laugh. Like, okay, see if I can read some of it. So defining the concept of a mind is a surprisingly slippery task. The mind is the seat of consciousness, the essence of your being. Without a mind, you cannot be considered meaningfully alive. So what exactly and where precisely is it? Traditionally, scientists have tried to define the mind as the product of brain activity. The brain is the physical substance, and the mind is the conscious product of those firing neurons, according to the classic argument. But growing evidence shows that the mind goes far beyond the physical workings of your brain. No doubt the brain plays an incredible important role. But our mind cannot be confined to what's inside our skull or even our body, according to a definition first put forward by Dan Siegel, a professor of psychiatry at UCLA School of Medicine and the author of the recently published book, blah, 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 Mind, A Journey to the Heart of a Human Being, if that's the book, if you're curious. He first came up with the definition more than 2 decades ago at a meeting of 40 scientists. The aim was to come to an understanding of the mind that would appeal to common ground. And after much discussion, they decided that a key component of the mind is the emergent self-organizing process, both embodied and relational, that regulates energy and information flow within and among us.
Regulates energy and emotion flow. Well,
Yeah.
that would have to include physical characteristics like parts of your brain, wouldn't it? Doesn't the brain regulate energy?
Yeah, I believe so. Let's see.
That's really interesting. You see the complications that arise when you try to define consciousness?
It's just like semantics, though. I mean, that sentence doesn't mean anything, and they act like it's some crazy breakthrough.
You know, you said something at the very beginning that I thought was interesting, talking about scientists not believing in anything that they can't see or measure. And I don't know if you heard me, but I had made the backhand comment, except for dark matter. But do you know what dark matter is?
Dark matter. Um, it's just matter that's not regular matter, correct? I mean, it's the opposite of matter, right? Or is
Well,
that's
dark
antimatter?
matter is actually something that has not ever been like. Okay, so dark
Oh, it.
matter is speculation, basically. It's speculation because they have these equations that
Right.
try to explain how the
Okay.
world works, how the universe works,
Yeah.
but they don't make sense unless you insert a bunch of matter that we can't
Ah,
see.
yes. Okay.
And
Yep.
so they speculate that there must be this dark matter or this antimatter that takes up like most of the universe. It's like supposedly is most of the mass in the universe, but we can't see it, we can't measure it, but it has to be there in order for our mathematical equations to make sense, basically.
Hmm. Yeah, that comes back to me now that you say that. That is very, very interesting. You wonder what that is. What could that
Okay.
possibly be?
Wikipedia says 27% of mass and energy in the observable universe, but still 27% is more than a
Pretty.
quarter. I mean, that would be more than 25% of everything in the sky
And
is not seeable or measurable.
and
But
that's
they
the
believe it
thing.
exists because their mathematical
It
equations
must
say
it
it.
must exist, otherwise all their theories are bunk and they don't make any sense. So they just got to
Right,
make
but think
something up
about
for
how
now.
many times science in their mathematical series have been wrong in the past. That's what I don't understand. These scientists they act like because they come up with an idea that means that it can't be wrong. And they just have no historical perspective on how often other scientists have been wrong.
Yeah. It's like with climate change too. Climate
Yeah.
change has been politicized to the max, and they act like 97% of scientists all agree that climate change is real. Sure,
Well,
the climate is changing. That's what's happened throughout history. What's not been agreed upon is whether it's anthropogenic, whether it's man-made.
well,
That 97% of scientists do not agree on that fact. Yeah, if you,
before you were born, Ricky, and I'm not that much older than you, but I remember this, it was not called climate change. It was called global warming because the globe was warming. Because they were taking measurements from the 70s and to the 80s and the 90s, and all their measurements were showing an average rise in global temperatures. But then somewhere in the mid to late 90s, the temperatures started to steady out, and now they're actually, by lots of people's measurements, are going down. However, there are some measurements where they're anyway, there's lots of places where they're playing with the measurements, like they're moving the temperature collecting stations from the country into the inner cities, which are typically warmer because of all the human activity. But there are other places that are measuring it and saying, well, we're cooling now. Enough
yeah,
people are
that
saying that we're cooling that they can't call it global warming because, well, let's just face it, the last couple of summers, how many days has it been 100 degrees in Kansas? And I remember it being way hotter.
mhm.
So they can't lie to people anymore and just call it global warming. Now it's climate change. It
Yeah,
is. You're correct. There's no proof that it's anthropogenic. And the fact of the matter is that carbon dioxide, it may be slightly, it may have slight greenhouse effects, but it is something that's necessary for the life ecosystem on this
right.
planet.
I mean, and plus, do you want to have a society? Like, do you want to have things? I don't. I don't want to live in a third world country. You know.
I don't want to have things. I honestly think that the best use of our technology and the way that the world should be if we didn't have kleptocrats in charge of everything is we wouldn't need to own anything. We would have like the replicators on Star Trek for food. We would just be able to like, I'm gonna sleep over here and push a button and it would like make a bed for you and you just sleep. Then when you get up, you just push a button and it sucks back into your pocket You're like, I need coffee, and you push a button and it just spits a cup of coffee into your hand. I mean, that kind of stuff could happen if
Yeah.
we didn't have rich kleptocrats stealing most of the wealth and productivity out of the world.
In a free society, yes, it could very well happen. And what's interesting about that is like you're right on the border of a Marxist society. Like if we had the means to just produce whatever we want, you wouldn't need an economy really.
Right. We wouldn't be Marxist, though, because Marxism is central planning. But what I'm talking about is a complete abundance of resources. There's no need for an organized authority to allocate resources in different ways, because at a certain point we're going to have the technology to distribute them instantaneously wherever the need of man arises. I mean, so, and honestly, I think that we should be there already technologically. We should be there. We're not there because the governments of this world suck so much of the productivity and wealth out of society that they're hindering us. But that's a personal opinion.
There was a guy I think who invented 0-point energy this year. If I'm not mistaken. He claimed. I wish I knew the dude's name, but
I'm sure he's dead already. But honestly, dude, Tesla said Nikolai Tesla supposedly found a way to access 0-point energy, but I
dude,
don't know. I'll tell you this:
Thomas
no
Edison
idea
was a
0
jerk.
Huh?
Thomas Edison was a jerk. He was a real jerk.
It's interesting when you bring Thomas Edison into it, but 0-point energy is really only an idea that can exist in quantum mechanics that kind of relies on a lot of Edison. I mean, if you have an idea of the universe from an electrical perspective, like the electric universe theory, I don't know if you've heard of that, but anyway, that's probably we're 2 hours into this podcast. There is no time for the electric universe. We're going to have to do that at some other point.
Next time on
Next time
Garth and Rich. Hey,
I don't know
I
if we
beat you
can
to
call
it.
this the news hour, though. I mean, we talked about some news.
I don't know what this is, but if you guys are still here, then you guys are awesome.
Yeah, I mean, we're not recording this live, but if
Guys and
anybody
gals.
does like this, I think, hey, you want to put this on Facebook? Oh, not Facebook. I don't have Facebook.
The
You could, I
Facebooks.
guess. I meant YouTube.
Yeah,
Put this on YouTube?
sure, yeah.
I could put
Down
this
with
on
that.
YouTube. I think it's long, though, and I have not verified my account. We'll see if I can get that done.
Yeah, it might take a while to upload. I don't know.
Well, I can't. The last time I tried to upload a video over 15 minutes, they wouldn't let me unless you go through these stupid identity verification checks.
Yeah,
I don't
you'll
know
have
how long
to.
that's going to take. The audio won't be a problem.
Cool.
Although 2 hours, I might have to.
Make a part 1, part 2, maybe.
Well, no. You know, the Garth Freeman show. The Garth Freeman show that nobody's ever listened to. That thing has only got it's on Podomatic, so you can only put so much on there, and you got to start deleting old episodes. So